Woodwork nightmare. Darwin Nunes is having the night from hell against Chelsea. First, his shot grazes the keeper's fingers and onto the crossbar. Minutes later, a volley is pushed onto the post. Then, in stoppage time in the first half, he steps up to take a penalty. Surely this has to go in. Nope. Finally, a close-range header in the second half. Crossbar. 4 times in one match, a Premier League record that had never happened before since records began in 2003. Jurgen Klopp called him unlucky because Nunes was impossible to defend that night. Nunes had been having his best season at Liverpool, already hitting double figures for both goals and assists. But that night encapsulated his entire Anfield journey. Moments of brilliance shadowed by a cruel mix of incompetence and bad luck. He'd already hit the woodwork 9 times that season, 3 times more than anyone else. Darwin Nunes didn't just strike the woodwork that night, he carved his name into history, proving that sometimes greatness and misfortune don't just clash, they coexist. And that's exactly what every record in this video represents. Moments so extreme, they'll never be matched again. Fastest red card. Keith Gillespie holds the fastest red card in Premier League history. Sent off within 10 seconds after entering the pitch as a substitute, though technically 0 seconds of actual football were played. He entered, elbowed an opponent straight away and went home. Efficient.
Nice.
Sheffield United versus Reading. Gillespie came on to replace Derek Geary at a throw-in. Before play had even restarted, he backed into Stephen Hunt and swung his elbow into Hunt's face. As he walked off, he threw another punch at Hunt for good measure. The day after the match, Gillespie handed in a transfer request. But here's the twist. He later withdrew it and signed a 2-year contract extension. The man who could get sent off faster than most people can tie their shoes somehow convinced his club he was still worth keeping. Football's ultimate contradiction. Brilliance and madness separated by milliseconds. Shortest Premier League career. Ali Dia conned his way into one Premier League match after someone pretending to be George Weah called Southampton, claiming Dia was his cousin. He was subbed on, played 53 minutes of Sunday League chaos, got subbed off, and disappeared into football folklore. In November 1996, someone called Southampton manager Graham Souness, claiming to be Ballon d'Or winner George Weah. Weah recommended his cousin Ali Dia, who supposedly was a former PSG teammate with 13 caps for Senegal. None of this was true. Dia came on for Matt Le Tissier against Leeds United. Le Tissier later described watching Dia as Bambi on ice. Southampton lost 2-0. Dia was released 14 days into his contract, having earned £2,000 for the greatest con in football history. The audacity was spectacular. When later tracked down by journalists, Dia still insisted he actually knew George Weah and had earned his spot. Even caught red-handed, the man refused to break character. Biggest loss. Manchester United beat Southampton 9-0 in February 2021, matching their own record from 1995 when they demolished Ipswich Town by the same scoreline. But here's the cruel twist. This was Southampton's second 9-0 mauling in just over a year. They'd already been destroyed by Leicester City in October 2019. In the 2021 massacre at Old Trafford, Southampton had Alexandra Jankovic sent off after just 79 seconds for a horrific challenge on his full Premier League debut. By halftime they were 4-0 down, and by full-time it was carnage. 7 different United players scored that night, like watching a training ground shooting practice while confused Saints defenders wandered around like lost tourists in a football museum. The result moved United level on points with Manchester City, though City still had better goal difference despite United's 9-goal rampage. Southampton have now suffered 2 of the 4 biggest defeats in Premier League history. They're basically football's equivalent of that friend who keeps getting mugged in the same neighbourhood. Most goals in a season. Erling Haaland scored 36 Premier League goals in his debut season, making the hardest league in the world look like FIFA career mode on easy difficulty. Andy Cole and Alan Shearer previously held the record at 34 goals, but they played in 42 game seasons, back when strikers smoked halftime cigarettes and still banged 30 goals. Haaland did it in 4 fewer matches. in an era where every team has a defensive system designed by a computer. To put this in perspective, Cole needed 65 games to reach 50 Premier League goals. Haaland did it in 48 games. Today's defenders have video analysis, GPS tracking, and tactical preparation that would make 1990s players dizzy. Yet Haaland treated them like traffic cones at a driving test. A 6'4" Norwegian cyborg programmed purely to score goals. Most touchline bans. Jose Mourinho collected 12 touchline bans during his time in English football. He collects suspensions like your grandmother collects ceramic cats, methodically, obsessively, and with zero shame about the growing collection. From calling referees weak and naive to accusing them of having fear to give decisions against bigger clubs, Mourinho turned press conferences into masterclasses in mind games and barely controlled chaos. His wildest episode was hiding in a laundry basket to sneak into the Chelsea dressing room after UEFA banned him from contact with players. The kit man wheeled him out halfway through, but had to close the basket when officials got suspicious. "I couldn't breathe. I was claustrophobic," Mourinho later admitted. In 2011, during a Barcelona-Real Madrid brawl, Mourinho casually ghosted through the chaos like nothing was happening, walked up to Barcelona's assistant coach Tito Villanova, poked him in the eye, then turned around and strolled away like he had just ordered coffee. Most modern managers are too media-trained and risk-averse to match Mourinho's beautiful madness. Mikel Arteta tries his absolute best, throwing his arms around like he's conducting an invisible orchestra and pacing the touchline like a caged tiger. But he's still playing in the minor leagues compared to a man who once travelled to a Champions League quarter-final inside dirty laundry, then casually committed common assault during the biggest football match in the world. Most saves in a match. In November 2013, Newcastle goalkeeper Tim Krul made 14 saves against Tottenham at White Hart Lane. Spurs generated enough expected goals to win a season. Krul just said, "Not today, lads." That's a Premier League record that stood for over a decade. Tottenham had 27 shots that day, 14 on target, and Krul kept every single one out in a 1-0 Newcastle victory. He basically moonlighted as Spider-Man for 90 minutes. The performance earned him Premier League Player of the Month for November 2013. His diving save to push a close-range effort from 3 yards over the bar was described as a save of the very highest order. Most own goals. Manchester City defender Richard Dunne scored 10 own goals during his Premier League career. People assume Jamie Carragher holds this record, but he's joint second with Phil Jagielka and Martin Skrtel at 7 own goals. Dunne was operating on a completely different level, like he was playing for both teams and getting confused about which goal to attack. Dunne was genuinely a quality defender who made over 350 appearances for City and won Player of the Year 4 times in a row. But somehow he managed to score 10 goals during his career, all for the wrong team. His own goal per season ratio was better than some strikers' actual scoring records. Fastest hat-trick. On May 16, 2015, Sadio Mane scored the fastest hat-trick in Premier League history in just 2 minutes and 56 seconds against Aston Villa. Villa defenders still wake up in cold sweats thinking about those 3 minutes. Mane scored his first goal in the 13th minute, then managed 2 more goals in the next 2 minutes and 56 seconds. Southampton won 6-1, but those 3 minutes were pure temporal violence. Villa's defenders experienced collective amnesia. How do you concede 3 goals to the same player in under 3 minutes? That's not bad defending. That's a glitch in the matrix. Most consecutive games. American goalkeeper Brad Friedel played 310 consecutive Premier League games from August 2004 to September 2012. A goalkeeper who basically forgot what rest meant. That's 8 years without missing a match, injury, suspension, or even a tactical rest. The record for an outfield player is Frank Lampard with 164 appearances, not even close to Friedel's Ironman streak. In today's age of load management, sports science, and GPS tracking, goalkeepers get rotated for cup games. Teams monitor heart rates like they're launching space missions. Friedel played through everything: torn ligaments, bruises, probably the 2008 financial crisis. Even being a goalkeeper, to not pick up any injuries or suspensions in over 8 years is remarkable in the modern era of competitive football. Fastest goal scored. Picture the scene. Javi Gracia's final team talk in the Watford dressing room at Vicarage Road. Start strong, don't give them an early chance, be solid for the first 10 minutes. The usual pre-match mantras that every manager delivers with conviction. Moments later, 7.5 seconds into the match, Shane Long had scored the fastest goal in Premier League history. Javi Gracia's simple master plan hadn't even survived the opening kickoff. Watford started with possession, passed it back to Craig Cathcart, who promptly had his clearance charged down by Long. The Irishman raced through and chipped Ben Foster with the composure of a man who actually listened to the team talk. The goal happened so quickly that some fans were still settling into their seats when Long was already celebrating. Even the TV cameras weren't properly positioned yet. Gracia's pre-match instructions about not conceding early had clearly fallen on deaf ears. Worst penalty conversion rate. Juan Pablo Angel holds the record for worst penalty conversion rate in Premier League history, scoring just 5 out of 10 penalties for Aston Villa. The Colombian striker could score spectacular goals from anywhere on the pitch, but penalties were his kryptonite. Angel was Villa's record signing at £9.5 million and their highest earner at the time. Picture the irony. A man being paid more than anyone else at the club, probably calculating his goal bonus in his head as he stepped up to the spot, only to watch his shot sail wide or get saved. The most infamous example came against Fulham in 2005, when he missed 2 penalties in one match, both saved by Edwin van der Sar within 5 minutes. By then, teammates were probably volunteering to take them instead, and Villa fans collectively held their breath every time they won a spot kick. Least goals conceded. Jose Mourinho's 2004-2005 Chelsea conceded just 15 goals in 38 Premier League games. Mourinho built a fortress, parked the bus, put locks on the wheels, and then swallowed the keys for good measure. With Petr Cech in goal, John Terry and Ricardo Carvalho at centre-back, plus Claude Makelele providing protection, they kept a record 25 clean sheets that season. Mourinho's Chelsea basically made attacking football illegal. No team will do this again. Modern football has too much pace, too many tactical variations, and too many moments of individual brilliance. Teams now create chances through systematic overloads that would overwhelm even Mourinho's defensive masterpiece. Since then, the closest anyone's come is 22 goals conceded. Mourinho and Chelsea's defensive record exists in its own statistical universe, laughing at every team that thinks they've mastered defending. Lowest possession victory. In August 2016, Burnley beat Liverpool 2-0 with just 19.4% possession. Sean Dyche invented Brexit ball before Brexit was even officially activated. Liverpool had 81% possession and attempted 26 shots, but only 5 on target. Burnley scored after just 2 minutes through Sam Vokes and added a second through Andre Gray in the 37th minute. They then defended like their lives depended on it for the remaining 53 minutes. Sean Dyche's post-match response was pure poetry. Possession doesn't win you games. Liverpool had 5 or 6 men in midfield at all times. If I did that, I would have the ball for a long time. But that doesn't win you the game. Most games unbeaten. From May 2003 to October 2004, Arsenal went 49 games without losing. Their entire identity since then has been built on this single achievement, like a one-hit wonder still touring decades later. This wasn't just one perfect season. They carried momentum across 2 campaigns like they were playing against youth teams. Arsene Wenger's squad wasn't just technically brilliant. They had the mentality to match anyone when games turned nasty. With today's tactical analysis and Premier League quality, reaching 50 games unbeaten would be impossible. Modern football has preparations so advanced that teams can exploit weaknesses spotted in your pre-match Instagram posts. The streak ended against Manchester United in a match that Arsenal fans still refuse to discuss at family gatherings, job interviews, or anywhere with functioning adults. Most Premier League goals. Alan Shearer scored 260 Premier League goals despite a career plagued by injuries and playing for clubs that weren't exactly Real Madrid. His longevity at the highest level remains untouchable. Harry Kane was second with 213 goals before choosing Bayern Munich over Premier League immortality in 2023. Kane was perfectly positioned to break it, then swapped guaranteed history for a guaranteed Bundesliga title. Erling Haaland sits at 88 goals from 100 games. Even at his ridiculous pace, Haaland would need 6 more seasons at peak performance without joining Real Madrid, getting injured, or discovering normal human limitations. Wayne Rooney finished third with 208 goals. Sergio Aguero managed 184. Shearer's record looks bulletproof in an era where elite strikers change clubs like hairstyles. Most Premier League appearances. Gareth Barry played 653 Premier League games from 1998 to 2018. To beat Barry, you'd need to start at 18 and play until nearly 40, without injuries, form dips, or Saudi Arabia calling with briefcases full of cash. Modern players are rotated constantly, plus lucrative overseas moves are common for 30-somethings. James Milner came closest at 639 appearances, but even he's winding down now. Barry also collected yellow cards like Pokemon cards, 123 total, another standalone record. While some players hunt goals, Barry hunted referees' attention. The man treated tactical fouling like an art form, probably rating himself on FIFA's dark arts attribute. This record belongs to a different era of football loyalty and career longevity that modern football killed. Most total red cards. Patrick Vieira and Richard Dunne both accumulated 8 red cards during their Premier League careers, but for completely different reasons. Vieira was a midfield enforcer who occasionally forgot the difference between football and armed combat. Dunne somehow managed the same total while apparently being confused about which team he was supposed to be helping. These totals came during an era when referees were more lenient and VAR didn't exist to review every aggressive moment in slow-motion HD replay. Players could get away with controlled violence that would result in immediate dismissals today. The fact that Dunne achieved this while also setting the own goal record suggests he had a uniquely chaotic relationship with football's basic concepts. For comparison, Roy Keane, football's ultimate bad boy, managed 7 red cards despite terrorizing players and referees for over a decade. Lowest points in a season. Derby County finished the 2007 to 2008 season with just 11 points from 38 games, winning only once all season. They turned failure into a record. That single victory was a 1-0 home success against Newcastle, meaning supporters at Pride Park had one celebration in an entire season. One victory parade, one moment of joy in 9 months of footballing purgatory. Derby must pray every season that a Premier League side gets fewer than 11 points. But with current financial firepower of even the weakest Premier League teams, this record feels safe at the top, or bottom, depending on perspective. The Premier League is now stacked with too much quality for this record to be matched. Most points in a season. Manchester City reached 100 points in the 2017-18 Premier League season under Pep Guardiola. They didn't just win the title, they lapped the entire field twice. During that season, 4th-placed Liverpool finished with 75 points. City's achievement wasn't just dominant, it was mathematically violent. They averaged 2.63 points per game across an entire season. Pep's Centurions made football look like a training simulation. They won matches they should have drawn, dominated games they should have struggled in, and turned title races into victory processions, where winners parade past defeated opponents. The combination of perfect execution, opponent weakness, and injury luck required to hit 100 points is virtually astronomical. Longest ban. Eric Cantona received an 8-month ban for his kung fu kick on a Crystal Palace fan in January 1995. You don't just get a red card for that, you get a sabbatical. This wasn't just a dismissal, this was a career intermission. Cantona didn't just lose his temper, He redefined what constitutes unacceptable behavior by launching himself into the crowd with martial arts precision. The ban was so long that some players' entire Premier League careers have lasted shorter periods. Cantona used the time to practice his philosophical quotes and perfect his collar-turning technique. Modern football's sanitized environment makes this type of incident impossible. Players now get media training specifically designed to prevent them from recreating action movie scenes during matches.
Most total assists. Ryan Giggs recorded 162 assists in Premier League history, a testament to insane longevity across multiple decades of football evolution. Giggs played from 1992 to 2014, spanning the entire Premier League era from its creation to the modern tactical revolution. He adapted his game multiple times, evolving from flying winger to central midfielder to deep-lying playmaker. Modern players don't stay at clubs long enough to accumulate these numbers. The combination of loyalty, longevity, and sustained quality required to reach Giggs' total is extinct in today's football landscape. Most assists in one season. Both Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne recorded 20 assists in a single Premier League season, but in completely different ways. Henry achieved this as a striker who got bored of just scoring goals and decided to create them too. He was basically playing football on cheat mode during Arsenal's peak years. De Bruyne managed it as a GPS system disguised as a Belgian midfielder. His passing range and vision make him look like he's playing a different sport from everyone else on the pitch. Most Premier League titles. Sir Alex Ferguson won 13 Premier League titles with Manchester United from 1993 to 2013, a feat of sustained excellence that defies mathematical probability. Ferguson managed through the dawn of the internet, tactical revolutions, foreign billionaires, and 3 different decades. He adapted like a managerial chameleon while maintaining impossibly high standards. Modern managers burn out after 6 seasons at top clubs. They get sacked for finishing 4th or losing dressing room confidence. Ferguson treated title races like annual appointments in his personal calendar. No modern manager will survive long enough to even approach this total. The combination of longevity, adaptability, resilience, and consistent excellence required is incompatible with contemporary football management.